So I want to start this video off with a bit of an announcement. February 4th through the 6th, Pops and I are going down to Jacksonville, Florida for a 24-hour endurance race. And we're not racing what I think anybody would expect. We're not racing Fiero, obviously that's not going to be done. We're not racing the RX-7. We're going to be racing mini bikes. These guys. Apparently there's a race down there called the 24 Hours of Les Minis, and one of our buddies, Eddie, who has that white S10 that you've seen in a couple videos, maybe just one. I don't know how he found out about this race, but he found out about this race called 24 Hours of Les Minis. It's put on by the Gambler guys, Gambler 500, and basically it's just an endurance race, like 24 Hours of Lemons, kind of. Can you imagine doing even an hour on that mini bike with no suspension? We're not taking this one. This one doesn't run. He already bought one and a bunch of other parts for it in case anything breaks. But yeah, he asked my dad and I, he's like, hey, you guys want to go? This looks like a fucking party. And we were like, yeah. When else are we going to go out and do an endurance race on mini bikes? So the plan is right now, February 4th through the 6th, we're going to be at, I think it's Jacksonville International Speedway, I think is what it's called. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys a heads up in case anybody's in the area. But anyway, today what we're working on is the RX-7 here. Got the pulleys in for this thing to hopefully get the Supercharger set up its own dedicated 10-rib belt. And to be honest, I'm kind of like fangirling over here because this is something that to a lot of people just seems like such a basic part of the build, but to me feels like real race car stuff. We got a super damper. And then here is the blower pulley. I went with a 3.8 inch on the blower. Here are all the bolts and everything. Here is the snout for it. I think you'd call this a snout. This is the part that actually slides on the end of the crankshaft. Here is the super damper pulley itself. And there's 9 countersunk holes for these Allen heads to go in. And then these 3 bolts here are for the main pulley. And this pulley is the reason that it took so long. Look at that. So this pulley, I ordered all of this through LSX Concepts, but it looks like this pulley was machined by DSX Tuning. It says LSA LT4 10 rib, and there's the size. Probably can't read it at all. 7.95 inch diameter. So that'll bolt just like that. So basically I wanted the biggest crank pulley that I could get, because just bigger pulley on the crank means bigger pulley on the supercharger, which means there's more surface area for the belt to grab, so there's less likelihood that the belt will slip, which slipping belt supercharger, that's bad. So for those of you who know, I believe the stock crank pulley size for an LSA is actually 8 inch. But in the limited time that I looked, I couldn't find a place that makes a bigger than 3.8 inch supercharger pulley for that. So if I went with a much bigger crank pulley, then it would effectively make that 3.8 something like, let's say, a 2.75, which would make that blower start singing, "You spin me right round, baby, right round like a record, baby, right round, round, round," which I didn't want. I obviously don't want to overspin the pulley. This one, I believe, is rated to 65,000 RPM, and I have no idea how much boost this setup's going to make, so I didn't want to start off at the maximum possible RPM. And I've seen some people say that you can spin them a little bit more and it still lasted years. It's hard to say for sure what it's going to make for boost-wise, because boost is just a measure of restriction. So we do have pretty decent heads. We've got the 799 heads, or these 243s. I think these are 799s. Nope, I'm wrong. These are 243s. So we do have pretty good flowing heads, and we're right around 10-to-1 compression. So I don't know what kind of boost this thing's actually going to make. I know before on that junk eBay turbo, it made 22 pounds of boost, and it wasn't making a ton of horsepower. That's because I think that turbo's not very efficient. I mean, obviously that turbo's not very efficient. This blower should have a ton more efficiency than that turbo ever did. So I'm hoping that this setup, we've got a more powerful engine just to start with, which is always good. Because, I mean, if you have a 400 horsepower engine making 10 pounds of boost and a 300 horsepower engine making 10 pounds of boost, you know which one's going to make more power. So yeah, I'm hoping that this setup on like 12, 13, 14 pounds of boost makes about the same power that the old setup did. And then we should be able to If I could have the option to go up to about 20 pounds of boost, that would be nuts. I don't think we'll really be able to get there realistically, but again, blowers are kind of hard to predict, to be honest. Like turbos, you can command it. Blowers, when you're first setting them up, at least in my experience with the truck and now with this, you're kind of just throwing poo at the wall and seeing what it tastes like. I got to get that crank pulley pulled off. I got a pulley puller, so that shouldn't be a big problem. I've got to get this one pulled off, which might be a little bit of an issue. We might get lucky here, but it's really cold out, so I don't know. Anyway, one of the other big problems, where did I put it? Where did I put it? One of the other big problems with belt-driven turbos is spinning the crank, or spinning the pulley on the crank. So, we've got this crank pin kit that we will drill into that. We'll tug James's crank a little. Oh, one other thing. Golly. God, I keep getting distracted, man. So, these pulleys are for an LSA. LSA has the 6-rib on the inside. So, you see this. This one out here is truck spacing. This one in here is Corvette spacing. And it's 6-rib already. So, what I need to show you guys now real quick is that a lot of times these aftermarket accessory brackets will have these spacers. In my case, this was for truck spacing, so this is 1.5 inches. For F-body, it'd be 3/4 of an inch, and for Corvette, it bolts right to the head. So this 6-rib lands right where the truck 4-rib AC compressor belt is. So theoretically, that should put this 6-rib belt right where it needs to be for that. All right, I don't think I've forgotten anything else. Let's get to work just pulling this thing apart and try to make the absolute partiest RX-7 we can. I don't know if partiest is a word, but we're getting there. We're doing it. We're partyisting. So this is going incredibly well, aside from the fact that the pulley seems to be absolutely bonded to that crankshaft, which is fine. It's not like I need it to come off or anything, except that I do. But at this point, I think I've been messing with this thing for probably close to an hour. And I bent the push rod. And then I bent another push rod. And then I bent another push rod. And it was after this one that I started heating it up. So I thought, this will fix everything. And then I bent another push rod. And then I bent one more push rod. And then I thought, I'll make my own out of a stronger bolt. And then I got the fucking bolt machine pressed into the end of this thing. I can't get it out of here. I can't get it out of here. It is stuck. So, I'm not really sure what to do. You fucker. So yeah, I had the torch just sitting on the crank for, I don't know, probably 10 minutes. And I think I'm going to put the torch back on it and keep trying to get that bolt out of there so I can just keep at it. Eventually it'll crack loose. This is so stupid though. I've never had one fight me this much. All right, we finally got this thing. Oh my God. Let's see, I came out here at about noon. It's 2:30 right now. Yeah, that was the stupid. That was the stupid. That was big the stupid. And you can see we bent. Oh yeah, that got toasty too. I left this. First of all, I had to let this sit in front of the heater for a little bit to loosen up the propane. You know what I mean? Because it was so cold that this wouldn't even ignite. So I had to let this warm up so that I could then use this to heat the freaking pulley. What a shit show. But we finally got it. This thing was trying to roadkill me, you know? Finally got the snout on the crank. That took entirely too long. But I've got the balancer, the damper just sitting on it right now. And then I also got the new blower pulley on. That wasn't bad at all. But you can see from here, hopefully, that those will all be lined up really well. I still have to pin the crank. I'm not using, I know someone's going to mention it, I'm not using ATI's like $130 deal that slides over the snout of the crank and then you drill the pin in this way and all that. I'm using just a normal pin kit. I don't know how else to describe it. Let's see. And then this will go right there. So, looks like the tensioner will line up perfect. I am going to have to space the pulley back a little bit. I'm almost curious. I might be able to just flip this pulley around and it works actually. But this is how I pulled the pulley off of it with the long side towards the blower. And I think that if I spun that around, it would actually work perfect. Methinks. But yeah, dude, that should work out really well. And then this will be probably up here somewhere. I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of wish that crank pulley was black. It's just so freaking shiny. Alright, so the next thing up is to try to drill for the pin kit. Now what I would like to do is drill right where the keyway is on the new balancer, but I think that might be easier said than done, even though this thing's probably about an inch thick. It might guide it enough, but typically when you try to drill halfway on the edge of something, it kind of wants to jump off. To make sure that I don't drill too far, I'm going to measure this. That is, we'll call it 890. We'll call it 760. So basically I'm just going to put a piece of tape on the drill bit at 1.65 so that I know once I drill to that far to stop and pull it back out. And then I'll pull the whole contraption off, slide the dowel pin in, get the bolt on, and we're pretty much good at that point. Once we got the balancer off, it didn't take long at all. Alright, we got the dedicated 10 rib pulley setup done. Here's what it looks like. This is obviously just a mock-up belt to get a measurement, and it should be real close to 58.5, and that's without the tensioner, so I might order a 59. So I got to get that ordered, and then I just have to drill a hole for this and tighten that down for the pin, and then we're good. You can see it clears the radiator hose, plenty of room for the intake piping. I don't know if I'm going to bring that down here. Probably won't because the radiator hose, I'll probably keep it tucked up here and then bring it over and up. But yeah, man, it's looking good and it should work out perfect. So I think that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and clicking that bell. I'll see you next time.